1 minute it's the rage, the next minute it's not. All of a sudden you see a major drop in its price, like 41% drop. I'm talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about cryptocurrency in general. We're now bouncing between $29,000 and $41,000 on Bitcoin's price. And the question is, are we going to go higher? Are we going to go lower? Are we going to see a breakout? Are we going to see a breakout to the bottom? For the last 12 months, crypto has been the rage. Along with GameStop, along with AMC Theaters and all the Reddit crew, crypto has been the rage, the new world, right? And then all of a sudden it's not. So where are we headed when it comes to the price of Bitcoin? I'm using Bitcoin because number one, it's the first. Number two, in my opinion, it's the purest. You know how many Bitcoin will be available in the future, 21 million. As of February 24th of this year, there's 18.6 million and some change out there. You know what the numbers are when it comes to supply. You understand that it cannot be manipulated. It cannot be fudged like some of the others. It's a controlled asset. And honestly, that is why I like Bitcoin. Now, of course, I own some Ethereum and I own some Cardano and Polkadot. But they're a little bit more, well, they're more fungible, I guess. Paul Tudor Jones, big hedge fund guy in the investment world, came out a couple weeks ago on CNBC and stated that he likes Bitcoin because you just know what it is. It's just math. And I tend to agree with him. It is purely just math. So now that Bitcoin has been moving in this range of 29,000 to 41,000, the question is, are we breaking lower? Recently, China basically shut down a great deal of the miners out there. And in doing so, the hash rate or the complexity of the formula has died. I read this article where it stated that 60% of all Bitcoin mined in the world was coming out of China. And China basically shut down a bunch of these miners, and they basically folded up shop and they're moving, and the word is they're moving to Texas. Why Texas? Well, the biggest reason why most of the miners are out of China or were out of China was because of the fact that they had hydroelectricity, basically water generated electricity, which was cheaper for people to mine. Texas, being one of the biggest producers of alternative energy in the United States, which a lot of people don't really know that, is also a great place to mine because the cost of energy can be much cheaper. There's wind energy, there's sun, that kind of stuff. So you may see a big group of miners coming out of China and going into Texas. In recent weeks, the US dollar has risen in value, so moved from roughly 89 cents on the dollar to right around 94 cents on the dollar, and it's been bouncing in this range. And you've probably noticed the cost of lumber, corn, other commodities have gone down because the dollar has gone up. Well, Bitcoin has a negative 0.69 negative correlation to the US dollar. So if the US dollar goes up $1, Bitcoin goes down 69 cents on the dollar, and then vice versa. So as the dollar has risen, Bitcoin has gone down and has been trading in this range. So this is a daily chart of the Bitcoin going back to January 25th. And we saw the peak of 64, basically, let's say round up to 64,000. And then we saw a tank and close right at 31,600 back in June. And it has basically been bouncing around since mid-May between this 40, rounded up to 41,000 and at a close, and then 31,600 at the low end of the close. So we're seeing this consolidation, what I call a consolidation, or more likely an accumulation phase. And oftentimes when you see big pullbacks in stocks or bonds or any kind of market, and you see this sideways movement going on, oftentimes it's institutions accumulating shares. And once they accumulate shares and they make profits by trading the range or the channel, and they buy more shares and they sell, say, 2/3 of it, and they go buy it at a lower price, and then they sell 2/3 of it, and keep doing that until they build their position out to what they want to truly allocate it to. So if I'm using a 10% commodity rule on Bitcoin, you would build that at 1% allocation each time. And what I believe is happening is that is essentially what is happening. We had a pullback from the highs. Summertime, Wall Street goes on vacation, volume drops in a lot of ways when it comes to traditional stocks and bond market, and you're now seeing a increase in share count and accumulation. And once accumulation hits those target numbers, then you'll start to see the position move higher, and in this case once it breaks 41,000, then it starts it's a break in the downward trend, and we then potentially will see the start of a new upward trend. And so I think that is really what's happening, is this excitement from August of 2020 into May of 2021. A major profit taking move brings it back down to some support level right around 30,000, and you start to see this accumulation phase start to happen. So this is a weekly chart going back to July of 2014. And what I'm going to focus on here is that long-term trend in that blue line there, that blue trend line, and looking at sort of where things start to intersect. We saw back in April or beginning of 2017 up until 2018, we saw a big move in the market overall in this area, and then we saw a pullback back down towards the trend line back in October of 18. It then bounced around, moved through that, bounced off that trend line a handful of times, and then COVID hit, and then we hit roughly October of 2020, and the market, it took off again and hit all-time highs right around that 65 or so mark, I believe was the peak. And then this chart is a weekly chart, so that weekly close was at 60,000 there. As we saw on the chart earlier, the daily chart, I believe it got to close to 65,000. But now what we could be seeing is a pullback back down to support, which is 61% of that move from October of 2020 to its highs, and now we're back around 30,000. That's basically a 40% retracement. They say 41% depending on what time of day you're measuring it on. But that puts us at 30,840. And what I think you could potentially see is this sideways movement for a while. And we saw that back during what we saw back in, July of 19 through October of 2020. So this could be a really long consolidation. Well, that longer consolidation would probably put us closer to where this blue trend line is pointing to in the future. So we could be here for a while, but on the other hand, it could pull back and head towards, if it went back straight down, it pull back to 19,065, which I doubt it'll do, but it could pull back into that between 20 and 30,000 range, and we could see it hit the trend line at that point, and then find support there, and then start making moves higher. But my thinking is we've seen the retracement for the most part, unless something drastically breaks down, unless we see a major regulation come out of the United States of no more Bitcoin, and they start shutting down our internet connections to it, what isn't it's possible, right? So that's something to consider there. But right now I'm playing based on this strategy, and that is to buy and accumulate more Bitcoin throughout the next period of time, say next couple months, build my position up to one that I feel comfortable in, and then look at, if we see a move towards that 41,000 mark and we see a breakthrough, profit hopefully pretty sizably from it. But on the risk management side of things, I believe there's more upside potential than there is downside potential because of the base forming right around 30,000 or so. And my risk parameters, though, starts to take into account, okay, if we start to break into the 28,000 or below range, so 27 to 28,000, at that point I'd be negative at that point because I wasn't an early adopter to Bitcoin. But more recently, in the last 6 to 8 months, I would then at that point start to lessen my risk by freeing up selling off some position, not the whole thing, because it can easily turn on you and go higher, but I would manage my risk on that downside. But that's all said and done, I believe there is more upside than there is downside, and so that's what I'm looking for overall. So that concludes my video on Bitcoin and where I think it's going to go. I'm bullish. I still think it's going to go consolidate. Along with that consolidation, a accumulation phase, which is what I'm applying to my portfolio. Of course, this is not advice, it's purely educational for you. You need to do your own diligence and implement your own processes. Please subscribe to my channel. Please share it with a friend. Make some comments below. Tell me what you want to hear about. I've been thinking a lot about housing recently and the housing market and where we're headed, so I'm going to create some content around that. But in the meantime, always live loud and take care.